Chapter 22 of Billie Bradley at Treasure Cove by Janet D. Wheeler. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Clue at Last. "What is it, Chet?" gasped Vi Farrington. "A rattlesnake?" "Whoever heard of rattlesnakes here?" cried Laura. "Don't be silly." "What do you see, Chet?" Billy asked. The latter was down on his knees, examining an imprint in the sand. Teddy and Ferd joined him. "A smaller rock has been resting here," Teddy answered for Chet. "Looks as if it had been rolled away recently." "Then let's get another to mark the spot," Billy suggested. They found one after considerable searching, and placed it carefully to mark what they now believed absolutely to be the site of the buried treasure. Then all sat down in a semicircle about the stone, and stared at one another solemnly. "It looks as if we'd found it," said Billy, in a tone she strove in vain to make steady. "It was just accident that I happened to see the rock from the proper angle." "And a still greater accident that you happened to see the resemblance between the profile of this rock and the drawing on the map," suggested Teddy. Billy shook her head. "No, I've been studying the map for some time. I had a feeling that it contained the clue we were looking for if we could only see it." "Well, let's dig!" cried Laura. She jumped to her feet impatiently and looked about her. The tools were nowhere to be seen. "We've left them somewhere back along the beach," she cried. "Of all the simpletons!" As the boys ran back to get the spades and shovels, a rumble of thunder startled the girls. They looked up apprehensively at the sky. Lowering clouds had blotted out the sun. Banks of storm clouds piled up in the east, and even as they watched, the angry mass was rent by a jagged thrust of lightning. "A storm!" wailed Vi. "And just now, of all times, just when we found the treasure!" "Oh, hush!" cried Billy. "Not so loud." Vi looked at her in surprise. "Why, Billie Bradley," she cried, "you don't mean to say there is any danger of being overheard here?" "You never can tell," returned Billy. "Oh, dear!" The sharp thunderclap sounded directly overhead. "Why does it have to storm just now?" The boys came up, carrying the implements. "It's beginning to sprinkle," Teddy said. "I've a notion we'd better make a break for shelter." "This is going to be a real storm when it gets here," prophesied Ferd. "Thunder and lightning and rain. Wow, here comes the wind." The young people turned and ran before the wind, half carried by it. The only shelter that they knew of deserved scarcely to be dignified as such. It was only a deep indentation in the face of the cliff, but it was partly protected by an overhanging rock. "May keep some of the wet off, anyway," gasped Billy. Teddy's hand was under her arm, guiding her. The rain was coming down now in torrents. The prospects were that they would be soaked through before they even reached their rude shelter. They came to it at last, and huddled disconsolately beneath the rock. "I don't see what's the use of trying to keep dry now," protested Laura. "We're as wet as we can be, anyway." "Let's make a break for the boat," Ferd suggested. "We'd at least find a change of clothes and something to eat on the mainland." "The boat would probably be swamped before we were halfway across the bay," Teddy objected. "This is a fierce storm." "And apt to get worse before it gets better," added Chet. "Gee, listen to that rain." "Aren't they cheerful?" said Vi. "Ugh, my teeth are chattering. I wonder how much longer we'll have to stay in this place." "Until the storm stops, I suppose," said Billy, trying to speak cheerfully. "Which won't be until tomorrow, by the sound of it," grumbled Laura. "Oh!" The exclamation was drowned out by a terrific clap of thunder. It seemed to shake the ground under them. It was followed by a fresh downpour, rain that dashed in under the overhanging rock, deluging them. "We'll drown if we don't look out," cried Laura. Billy giggled. "Somebody start bailing, please. Oh, dear, this is awful." It was, and as Chet had prophesied, it grew worse. After what seemed an interminable time to the uncomfortable boys and girls, the thunder grumbled off into the distance, and the lightning thrust became less vivid. But the rain did not abate. It continued to pour down steadily, drenchingly. "I believe it is going to keep up all night," cried Vi, despairingly. "Mrs. Wellington Opp will be worried." And she's apt to get out the reserves to look for us," giggled Laura. "That might not be as funny as it sounds," Billie observed thoughtfully. "I'd hate to have anyone find us here just now. If only we had a motor boat." At the moment, as though the words had conjured it into being, the chug-chug of a motor boat came to them distinctly through the sound of the rain. Teddy started to stand up, hit his head against the top of their shelter, and promptly sat down again. "Ouch! I forgot the roof was so low. That is a motor boat, isn't it?" "You said it," Chet agreed excitedly. "What's more," added Ferd, "it's coming straight into the cove." They all tried to stand up then, bumped their heads and sat down hard. Then there was a chorus of exasperated giggles as they tried to peer out into the storm-filled shadows of the evening. "I see a light," cried Billie. "Maybe it's a searching party after us," Vi warned. "Can't help it. Got to take a chance," returned Billie shortly. "Anything's better than staying in this awful place all night." They came out of their shelter and ran down to the shore, waving their hands and shouting to the incoming craft. Someone answered from the boat, and the light came closer. It was a small open boat, but judging from the sound, it possessed a powerful motor. "Going to the mainland?" someone asked. "We'd like to," Billie cried. "Have you got room for all of us?" "How many are you?" "6. "All right, hop aboard." It did not occur to the boys and girls that the appearance of the motorboat at that time and place was rather an odd happening. They saw in it only the means of escape from an unpleasant predicament, and accepted it thankfully. They scrambled aboard, getting only a little more wet in the process than they already were. They could scarcely see the two men, although they made out enough to be sure that one was very tall and the other short and stocky. "Short and long," Laura whispered in Billie's ear. "Look at them." "They look like angels in disguise to me," returned Billie. "Just think of getting home to a fire, dry clothes, and something to eat." "Just wait till we tell Ben what we have found," added Vi gloatingly. "Hush!" cried Billie. She glanced over her shoulder at the taller of the two men. It seemed to her that he was regarding her queerly. "Please be careful, Vi." The motorboat had been turned about, and was chug-chugging its way out of the cove. It picked up speed in steady response to its powerful motor. When they came to the dangerous rocks that guarded the cliffs at the point, the craft did not swerve southward toward the mainland, but kept steadily out toward sea. "This isn't the way," cried Billie. "Where are you taking us?" End of chapter 22.